In the first episode, we found out that there are some 2 billion Christians on this planet, and of those, maybe only 10% have ever read the Bible. So I started this series, essentially the Bible Made Easy, to try and help correct this shortcoming. Now it should be stated that there are some 30,000 denominations of Christianity. That's 30,000 interpretations of this book. However, they all share certain features in common. In other words, in order to be Christian, they have to have certain unifying factors. And of the more common ones are they have to believe in Jesus Christ, that's Christ as in Christian, was the Son of a mighty God, and that those events are adequately described in the Bible. Another thing that Christians commonly believe in is heaven. Now, heaven is actually also described in the Bible. Jesus Christ comes back, and it's in Revelations, and reveals various things to John. And one of those things that he reveals is heaven. So if you've never actually read the biblical description of heaven, this is maybe important need-to-know information. After these things I looked, and behold, a door standing open in heaven. And the first voice I heard was like a trumpet speaking to me, saying, Come up here, and I will show you things that must take place after this. Immediately I was in the Spirit, and behold, a throne set in heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a sardius stone in appearance. And there was a rainbow around the throne, in appearance like an emerald. And around the throne there were 24 thrones, and on the thrones I saw 24 elders, sitting, clothed in white robes, and they had crowns of gold on their heads. And from the throne proceeded lightnings, thunderings, and voices. 7 lamps of fire were burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of God. Before the throne there was a sea of glass like crystal, and in the midst of the throne and around the throne there were 4 living creatures, full of eyes, in front and in back. The first living creature was like a lion, the second living creature was like a calf, the third living creature had the face like a man, and the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. The 4 living creatures, each having 6 wings, were full of eyes around and within, and they do not rest day or night, saying, Holy, 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 Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. Whenever the living creatures give glory and honour and thanks to him who sits on the throne, who lives for ever and ever, the 24 elders fall down before him who sits on the throne and worship him who lives for ever and ever, and cast their crowns before the throne, saying, You are worthy, O Lord, to receive glory and honour and power, for you created all things, and by your will they exist and were created. So that's the description of heaven in the Bible. Now there are several very anthropomorphic elements to this description of heaven. Maybe the first and most obvious one is everyone sits on chairs in heaven. Now chairs make sense for us humanoids in that when we get tired from moving around in the gravitational force field, we sit down on chairs. So this means that there is something equivalent to gravity in heaven. And also there is a sea of glass like crystal, again implying that there is some sort of gravitational force field or similar. And there is also lightnings and thunderings in heaven. Lightning, electromagnetic radiation, light, again suggested by the creatures full of eyes in front and in back. And then there's thunderings, which implies there is a gaseous atmosphere of some sort for the sound waves to pass through. And that is also suggested by the creatures with their 6 wings. Now, of the things that really make this sound a little eclectic are, first of all, you have a rainbow in appearance like an emerald. Not sure that's possible. Emeralds are green, rainbows are multicoloured, but okay. And secondly, we have 4 living creatures, the lion, the calf, the creature with a face like a man, and the flying eagle, each with 6 wings, full of eyes around and within. And basically they don't stop day or night. They don't stop at all, basically praising God. And whenever they do, the 24 elders basically throw their crowns before God and say, we're not worthy. Now, you would have thought that that would get fairly repetitive fairly quickly, especially if you're an omnipotent being. I think you would have probably picked it up the first time. But nonetheless, it's a very anthropomorphic description of heaven. I would have said, personally, it sounds more like someone having a bad trip than a description of a place where people will go and spend eternity. However, this is really about what Christians believe. So, do you believe in the description of heaven in the Bible? And is this indeed a place where you would want to go when you die, even if it existed?